The Dominican Republic is grappling with deadly flash flooding and significant infrastructure damage after being pummeled by the slow-moving tropical storm Melissa. The storm, which is now moving westward to potentially intensify into a major hurricane, has already claimed one life and left another person missing in the country. Unlike typical tropical systems that move swiftly across the Caribbean, Melissa has been characterized by its excruciatingly slow pace. For days, the storm has meandered through the central Caribbean, moving at a walking speed of just 2 miles per hour in some areas. This prolonged presence has been a recipe for disaster, allowing the system to dump colossal amounts of rainfall over already saturated areas. The extended downpour has overwhelmed rivers and drainage systems, triggering widespread and life-threatening flash floods across the southern and central parts of the country, including the capital city, Santo Domingo. Footage from Friday, October 24th, showed residents in Santo Domingo wading through waist-deep, muddy water as floodwaters inundated streets and neighborhoods. The storm's fury has resulted in significant damage to homes and vital infrastructure. The water supply to over 500,000 customers has been knocked out due to damage to utility systems. Fallen trees and traffic lights have added to the chaos, blocking roads and complicating relief efforts. Nearly 200 homes across the Dominican Republic have been destroyed by the storm and resulting floods. In addition, floodwaters have isolated more than 24 communities, severing their access to aid and communication. In a proactive move to ensure public safety, all public schools and government offices in 12 provinces were closed on Friday, October 24th. In response to the escalating crisis, Dominican President Luis Abinader and emergency management officials have activated a comprehensive relief operation. Recognizing the extreme risk posed by the rainfall, authorities made evacuations mandatory in areas under alert. The main thing here is to save lives, said Juan Manuel Mendez Garcia, the Dominican Emergency Operations Director, during a recent briefing. Emergency crews, including firefighters and civil defense personnel, are working tirelessly to rescue trapped residents, clear debris, and restore essential services. The military has also been deployed to assist in the most affected areas. Initial reports indicate that international aid organizations are mobilizing resources to provide support to the Dominican Republic and neighboring Haiti, which has also been severely impacted by Melissa. The peril is far from over for the Caribbean. The slow-moving tropical storm Melissa is forecast to continue strengthening over the weekend, fueled by unusually warm Caribbean waters and decreasing wind shear. Forecasters predict it will rapidly intensify into a major hurricane by Sunday, potentially reaching Category 4 strength. While Melissa is expected to largely pass south of the Dominican Republic in the coming days, its proximity will continue to bring dangerous conditions, including heavy rain and the ongoing threat of flash floods and landslides, particularly in southern Haiti and Jamaica. For the Dominican Republic, officials remain on high alert, urging residents to monitor forecasts closely and remain prepared for further heavy rainfall. This ongoing natural disaster serves as a stark reminder of the devastating impact of slow-moving tropical systems, where the sheer volume of rainfall becomes a greater threat than the wind speeds. The recovery process for the Dominican Republic is expected to be lengthy, and the full extent of the damage may not be known for some time. For much of the week leading up to October 24, 2025, Tropical Storm Melissa lingered over the central Caribbean, moving at a painstakingly slow pace. This molasses-like crawl created a continuous conveyor belt of moisture, relentlessly pummeling the southern coast of the Dominican Republic, with Santo Domingo bearing the brunt of the onslaught. Meteorological data reveals the extreme nature of the event. The city's main airport recorded over 11.8 inches, 300 millimeters, of rain in a 72-hour period, with some unofficial weather stations reporting even higher totals. This staggering amount of precipitation, falling on an already densely populated urban area, overwhelmed the city's drainage systems, canals, and rivers. The result was a city transformed into a chaotic network of fast-moving, muddy floodwaters. Reports from Friday, October 24th, captured the sheer scale of the disruption. Videos and photos widely shared on social media depicted cars abandoned on impassable streets, submerged up to their windows in floodwaters. Traffic came to a complete standstill in many areas, paralyzing commerce and normal activity. The Los Rios neighborhood was among the hardest hit. As surrounding streams and small rivers burst their banks, families were forced to flee their homes as floodwaters rapidly rose. The Listin Diario newspaper documented the scenes of residents scrambling to find higher ground, carrying what few belongings they could salvage. The city plunged into darkness for many residents as Melissa's rainbands and high winds knocked out power lines and traffic lights. Furthermore, the water supply system was severely affected, leaving a large portion of the city's population without access to clean running water. In a decisive move to protect the public, the Dominican government, along with the Emergency Operations Center, took extraordinary measures. Schools and government offices were closed for multiple days in Santo Domingo and several other affected provinces. Mandatory evacuation orders were issued for high-risk areas, with officials stating that the main thing here is to save lives. Even as the storm moves west, the humanitarian crisis in Santo Domingo and its surrounding areas is just beginning. With many homes destroyed or severely damaged, thousands of people have been displaced. While authorities have set up temporary shelters, the sheer number of affected residents poses a significant challenge. The floodwaters have created a breeding ground for waterborne diseases. Officials are urging residents to exercise extreme caution when dealing with flood-contaminated water and to follow public health guidelines. The damage to homes, businesses, and public infrastructure is extensive. The cost of rebuilding will be immense, and it will require a concerted, long-term effort from the government and international aid organizations. While Santo Domingo has endured the worst of Melissa's rainfall, the threat is not entirely over. As the storm strengthens and moves toward Jamaica, Haiti, and eventually Cuba, lingering rainbands will continue to pose a risk of localized flooding and landslides in the Dominican Republic. Officials and residents alike must remain vigilant, as the fragile infrastructure remains vulnerable to further rain events. The city's resilience is being tested, and its ability to recover will depend on effective disaster response and coordinated recovery efforts. The Caribbean is reeling from widespread destruction and loss of life following the relentless assault of Tropical Storm Melissa, which has since gained strength and is now threatening to become a major hurricane. The slow-moving storm has dumped record-breaking rainfall across several islands, triggering catastrophic flooding, landslides, and infrastructure collapse from Hispaniola to Jamaica. Unlike many fast-moving hurricanes that sweep through the region, Melissa's danger was amplified by its agonizingly slow pace. For nearly a week, the storm meandered through the central Caribbean, effectively parking over already vulnerable islands and drenching them with unprecedented amounts of rain. This prolonged, slow-motion assault became a recipe for disaster, as soil and drainage systems were overwhelmed, leading to widespread and life-threatening flash floods. Forecasters had warned that the storm's glacial movement, combined with unusually warm Caribbean waters, was creating an ominous rainfall forecast. In a region where many communities are marginalized and lack resilient infrastructure, this slow-motion deluge proved more lethal and destructive than even a Category 5's winds. The nation is still dealing with the fallout from previous natural disasters and ongoing instability, making it particularly vulnerable. Landslides triggered by Melissa's heavy rains have been deadly. Initial reports from Haiti's Civil Protection Agency confirmed at least 3 deaths, with the grim reality that the number could rise as rescue efforts continue. In the southern coastal town of Marigot, a landslide tragically claimed the life of an elderly man. Another 5 people were injured in floods in the central Artibonite area. Thousands have been displaced from their homes, and the country's fragile infrastructure has suffered significant damage, further complicating aid distribution.